we just announced our partnership with the Beach Samui, which is a hotel, beautiful resort on Koh Samui Island, where that is a cannabis resort where you can consume comfortably on their premises. And you can get treatments, cannabis treatments, everything from sound baths to massages to wellness treatments to sleep management therapy.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Dime. I'm Brian Fields, and with me, as always, is Kellen Finney. And this week, we got a very special guest, Cameron Clarke, CEO of Thunderstorm. Cameron, thanks for taking the time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be with you guys. Yeah.
Excited to have you here. Kellen, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Really thrilled to talk to Cameron today. Really excited to have a lifelong West Coaster on the pod. I know that he's been in the industry for a while in terms of building brands. So really excited to learn the whole story behind Kanha and Thunderstorm. How are you doing today, Brian?
Yeah, I'm stoked. And I think it's really important to notify, right? Cameron does live on the West Coast, but he's had a lot of fun and he's been there a few times on the East Coast. And in my math, Kellen, 4 times is more than 1 time. So Cameron, we got a little East Coast, West Coast battle. You had to put yourself on the map. Where are you going to put yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, it's actually funny when Keith and I, my buddy from college, started Thunderstorm back in 2014, 2015 timeframe. I was willing to move anywhere to start this business. And we canvassed the entire U.S. market, and I looked at Colorado, and I wondered where should I go live, right? Where should I start this business? And we basically looked at everything. We said, you know what? Let's just do it in California, because if we can win in California, we can win anywhere, right? It's the grandfather of cannabis markets. Little did we know that you could actually get licenses in Pennsylvania and sell them for hundreds of millions of dollars within a few years. So it would have been a hell of a lot easier, I think, to start on the East Coast. But we're thrilled to have one of the biggest brands in the industry and be successful.
Yeah, I think we should start in those early days with you and Keith. Where did the idea come? Do you remember the conversation? And take us through kind of those first steps when you're collaborating, thinking about starting business, then kind of what went from there.
Yeah, you guys are looking for fun stories, so it is a fun story about how this whole endeavor started. So I was actually doing self-study molecular biology, if you can believe that. I was trying to start a small biotech company in San Diego, and I was actually growing algae in my backyard, and was trying to engineer algae to produce high-value compounds. Well, the way you crack the cell of the algae is you use CO2. So I was actually building my own CO2 extractor with scuba tanks in my backyard to get the compounds out of the algae. When a friend of mine, relatively new friend of mine, came into my house and he showed me this picture of this tool that he bought. And it turned out, I said, that looks like an extractor. What are you doing with an extractor? You're a stoner. I said, I've got 100 pounds of weed in my car and I'm going to extract oil out of weed. And it went ding. I said, oh my God, because I love cannabis. I love plant medicines, but I never wanted to be a farmer. And once I realized that you could extract the oil out of cannabis, and then, you can make anything you want. So I called my best friend, Keith, and said, we've been going to Burning Man for decades, right? Or a decade. We love alternative plant medicines. We love, you've been a cannabis consumer your whole life. Why are we not in this industry? And he said, you know what? That's right. And so we started Thunderstorm, and it's been a lot of hard work ever since.
Were there any other product iterations that first extraction run, or did you know right away you wanted to do edibles?
Well, actually, that's a funny story too, to be honest. So we bought the extractor. We bought an Apex extractor. We set it up, and then we had a consultant come in the very first day to teach us how to use it. And at the end of the day, he said, by the way, because we were only planning on making oil and probably vapes, and we weren't quite sure what we were going to do. We really didn't have our eyes set on edibles at that time. We were just trying to figure out which end was up. And he said, oh, by the way, I've got this small gummy company. You want to buy it? I said, how much? He said, $50,000. I said, well, what do I get for $50,000? He said, well, I can teach you how to make it. I said, well, how many customers do you have? He said, I have 35 customers. So I did the math, 35 customers for $50K. I shook his hand immediately and said, deal. So that's how we got into the edibles industry. But I'm pretty sure that we would have gotten the edibles industry anyway, because I'm not a huge smoker, but I love plant medicines. And so I really believe that edibles are a fantastic format for lots of people that don't want to smoke. And I think for a lot of patients that can't smoke because of whatever their condition, edibles are a great format. And by the way, we also got into tinctures at that time. And we were the very first company in the industry in 2015 to launch a nanotechnology tincture which in my mind is basically an edible to be honest. And so I had the science background and I am also impatient. And I also knew that so many people were overdosing because they take something and then they wouldn't feel anything, then they take another one, right? So I wanted to compress the time of when you actually feel the effect. And so that's why we're the first company in the industry to launch nanotechnology back in 2015. And it's been part of our offering ever since. So that's how we got in the industry. And it was an exciting time in those days to get started and offer these things that these technologies and tools that really drove innovation and changed the industry in many ways. So we're thrilled to have been part of that.
What other products did you guys initially try from an edible perspective? Was it gummies and tinctures at first? Like, talk us through that experiment process with the consultant. Did he have one product line that he was driving through you guys?
He was making low end gummies, right? And just making them the old fashioned way by hand. And I immediately changed everything that he taught me and automated some of it and simplified it and standardized it. I bought an HPLC, which is a device to measure potency, right? Measure cannabinoids, etc. And so we started testing our products. We started testing our oil. We started testing products of all of our competitors. And we realized that pretty much 100% of the products in the industry were completely mislabeled. And so we wanted to be that first brand that actually came out with products that people could have a consistent experience with. And actually, what was on the label was actually in the product itself. So we really focused on the gummies. The gummies just took off. We also launched a vape line called Wind, and then we launched our tincture line called Nano 5, which was a liposomal technology for nanotechnology. And then we later we used nanotechnology in the edibles, in the gummies, and which is a different format called SEDS. But for us, it just the industry was booming and we were growing quickly, and we focused a lot on gummies. Recently, we've gotten into the chocolate game because we see a lot of opportunity in chocolate, and we've launched a new product called Minis, which is kind of in an M&M format, which is super cool and I think it's generating a tremendous amount of excitement here in California. So we've tried a bunch of different things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I think everybody in this industry will tell you that that's kind of the way it works. And we've made some mistakes in the past. We've had wind at our backs a few times. And meeting that guy to start to sell me the edible company for $50K was wind at my back, wind at our backs, one of the moments. So.
Did you ever use the homemade CO2 extractor for algae for cannabis before you bought your Apex?
So I never got it finished because once I looked at it and I said, "Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm gonna use your extractor, not my homemade one, right?" But then I realized that his was homemade as well, so it wasn't an Apex machine. It was actually really dangerous. So I never even ended up testing his. And we just went out and bought an Apex and launched it in late 2015, early 2016, and it's been full steam ahead ever since. We did get out of the extraction business 2 years later. I couldn't wait to get out of the extraction business. The only reason we did it was because we wanted to make sure that we guaranteed the supply chain of good quality oil. And once we didn't need that anymore, we focused on finished goods, and that's really who we've become.
One of the challenges, it seems, with edibles is that people have that onset delivery time. I know you talked about a little bit with the nanotechnology, but before that, did you struggle at all trying to figure out how to dial in the recipe and the dose to have that consistent taste and kind of feel every time?
Absolutely. I mean, this has been a long journey for us. It started with me, and then it evolved to a team of, over the years, literally thousands of people that have been working in this company over time. And, it's just constant improvement, constant perfection. But I've been a huge plant medicine and nutrition person for decades. And that's really kind of what led me to this industry. I also have a lot of experience, down in the Amazon, doing a lot of very interesting, and other places around the world, actually doing some very interesting plant medicine journeys. And, I have a significant amount of experience with that. So, and you have to wait, right? So, that wait always causes a little bit of anxiety. And so the more you can compress that time and feel the effect faster, the more you relieve some of that anxiety. And this industry really grew up with, people inhaling cannabis, and the effect is pretty rapid. So what I wanted to do from the very beginning is try to figure out how can we drive the edible effect to be more like the effect of smoking. It hits faster. You avoid the conversion in the liver to 11-hydroxy THC. So we tested a variety of different nanotechnologies. In the end, we chose 2 that were full pharmaceutical grade, and they've been used in the pharmaceutical industry for decades to make sure that it was safe and it was reliable. And we believe that we have by far the best nanotechnology implementation of any cannabis company. And it's been just, like I said, it's been a constant journey. Even now, we are still dialing in our process to make improvements. We have an incredible R&D team that works with this stuff literally every day, and we're about to launch some new nanotechnology stuff that I think is going to be super exciting for the industry.
How much does like the extraction type affect the end product in terms of like if you're working with like a CO2 extractor or an ethanol extractor or even like a water extractor? How much does that oil starting material affect your guys' end product? And do you specifically try to only work with one type of product? And also, how does that affect your guys' expansion efforts through multiple states because you're partnering, right?
That's actually a really good question. We're all about consistency and reliability. And we want consumers, if they buy one of our gummies today and consume it today, and they buy one and then they bought it in LA and they buy another one in Boston a year from now, we want them to have the exact same experience. And so we are very, very rigorous in our process and in the way that we manufacture our products. And by the way, we don't license our technology or license our brand because we know that we have enough trouble making great, reliable, consistent products ourselves. And so we always make the products ourselves in every location. So we have tested all kinds of oils and all kinds of cannabinoids over the years. And, they absolutely, the different styles of extraction and different, potencies and all that absolutely affect flavor, especially when you add the nanotechnology to it. It's very, very difficult. And if you ask anybody in this industry about nanotechnology, a lot of people will say, "Oh, that creates bitter product. That makes the product taste, really, really badly." And we have worked very, very hard, like I said, to make sure that we actually have that consistency of great flavored products that work really well. And that's really what we're known for because we've done the science, we've done the homework, and it's difficult. Having said that, it took us a while to get into the live rosin game because we also wanted to do nanotechnology, and we struggled with applying nanotechnology to the richer product of rosin. But we recently launched some in our belts, and they're fantastic. And we're going to be launching a brand new rosin product in the coming months that tastes amazing. So, we're a little bit, let's say, maybe behind some of our competitors, but we're more interested in getting products to market that work and are consistent and taste great, right? We don't necessarily need to be the first to market with, a live rosin product. We just want to make sure that when it goes to market, it's incredible. And if you talk to people about our belts, bud tenders are loving them in California because they taste amazing, they work great, and the effect of the nano with the rosin is awesome.
So let's talk about the R&D process because I'm pretty fascinated by that concept, right? Do you start with an end product in mind and then work backwards through like the recipe, then all the way to the supply chain, or does it come reverse where it's like, hey, this processor, this cultivator we've worked with in the past has this really consistent product. We think it'll make a good end product. Which way does that go?
It's actually all of the above, which is kind of confusing, right? And I drive my team crazy sometimes because I'm very creative and I'm very innovative and I want to drive innovation. And if you look at our product mix, if you go to our website, you will see a ton of different SKUs, and we're known for a lot of different SKUs. But the SKUs they're for different market segments, right? And we there are different types of consumers, and so we want to make sure that we appeal to the different segments of the market. Over the years, I've thought about something. I've had a dream in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden I wake up in the morning and call the R&D team and say, "Guys, you got to work on this." Or they will come to me and say, "Oh my God, we have this incredible idea for a new gummy. What do you think about this?" And then they will test it out. We did a s'mores product about a year ago, which was terrific. It was our first foray into chocolate. It had graham cracker on there, and it tasted amazing. We did it as an LTO because it's really hard to make. but it was super cool. And that actually came from R&D themselves. They said, hey, we can make a s'more. What do you guys think about that? So there is some of their kind of ideas. We're doing a better job now of standardizing and trying to have our marketing department and our product manager really work more closely with R&D to say, okay, where are the holes in the market? We think that there are opportunities for these types of products, and let's create a plan as to why this product could be amazing, and then let's give it to R&D and see what they can come up with. So there's a lot of that going on today. We also launched minis in like I mentioned earlier, in California recently, which is basically like an M&M, 4 milligrams of THC, 2 milligrams of minor cannabinoids. They're awesome. The melting point of these things is like over 130 degrees. So it's the first chocolate product on the market that doesn't really melt, which is terrific. And at least at normal temperatures, right? And the feedback we're getting in the industry is that, wow, this thing is it tastes delicious and it works incredibly well. It's amazingly consistent. That product took 2 years of R&D for us to come up with. And that was kind of a blend of, the R&D team kind of thinking outside the box, but also, our team in headquarters just saying, hey, you know what? Chocolates are not really doing that well. What is it like? Let's look at the chocolate market in CPG and see what does really, really well. And, everybody's at M&Ms, right? So we said, let's try to make one of the hardest products in the industry to make. So, we're pretty excited to have launched that, I think 3 or 4 months ago.
So from an R&D perspective, you guys are selectively launching in California, right, with some of these products. How do you determine when to take that products to other states, and what products do you guys typically lead with when you go to a new state?
Yeah. So we made the mistake actually of launching things in California ahead of launching in other states. We realized that, we had way too much SKU creep in California with all these different products. So we try to rein that in and not overwhelm the teams in these other states. California's a little bit easier because the market's so big. You can have a lot of variety on the shelf. But, when you talk about, a market like Nevada, which is maybe $1 billion, it's hard to have all that variety. It's hard to sell it all. There's only 100, some odd stores. It's a little bit trickier. But here's what we found. Here's why it was a problem. We launched these cool new products in California. We put them up on the website. And then next thing you know, people in Massachusetts are going to the store and saying, hey, where's this product? I want the minis, right? And so now we have FOMO in these other markets of consumers and retailers that want access to all these other products. So then we started launching the products that, these other products in other states. And that's been a little bit tricky kind of to manage, right? The marketing and all that on that. And so now we are working to just launch our products in all markets all at the same time. So this new launch, which I'm being a little bit covert about, which will be in the next few months or so, we'll launch in all states at the same time. It'll be one master marketing campaign. So, it's difficult. I mean, this basically just points out the single biggest point of failure in this entire industry in the United States is that you can't ship across state lines. It's just absurd, right? You got $100 billion cannabis market in the U.S. divided between three markets, which are licensed, illicit, and the hemp market. And you have artificial barriers to entry and a free flow of goods and capital between all these markets, and it's just a total mess. The truth is, the consumers in Texas want the products that we're selling to consumers in California, and why shouldn't they have them? So, it's difficult for all of us in the industry to manage through that. And it's difficult for brands that are flower brands. I mean, think about the challenges they have in growing their strains in different states. That's really difficult.
So spinning up operations in, let's call it 16 different states and having supply chains in all of those, does it make the process easier plus 280 on top?
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And I'll tell you, so we're probably going to talk a little bit about Thailand, but, the decision for me to go to Thailand was incredibly easy. First of all, I have an international trading background, so I understand international markets pretty well. Traveled all over the world many, many times. Been to Thailand many, many times. It was awesome to be able to plant a flag in Asia, to sell cannabis, and they blew the doors wide open. So the cannabis tourism there is off the charts, right? And everybody's having a ball. Things are going really well. But the biggest decision for me was one location, sell all over Thailand, export all over the world. So Thailand has a big background in exporting nutraceuticals all over the world. It's one of the 5 tigers of Asia. This is a perfect opportunity for us to plant a flag there and be able to sell our products all over the world. And this has not been something we've been able to do in the US. And it's been super frustrating to do that. We did launch in Canada, a number of years ago, and our partner was supposed to be exporting our products around the world, but, they ran into problems. We all know what happened in Canada and all the challenges in Canada. So when that didn't really come to fruition, we started focusing on Thailand.
Did you always know you wanted to go to Thailand? It seemed like you did. And then how long was the process from, let's say, idea and being on boots on the ground to start actually being ready to go?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because if you asked me 6 years ago if I would own a global cannabis brand, I would have told you, go take a hike. We had enough problems just launching into new states in the US. But to be honest, I am thrilled that we are now one of the first global cannabis brands. The opportunity came to me about 3 years ago. I was watching a little bit in Thailand as they were opening their doors. And then through a relationship, I had the opportunity to meet some people. I met them, and it literally took me 5 minutes to say, yeah, I'm on board. Let's go do this. So I booked a flight to Thailand, and it took another 5 minutes over there to make the decision that I wanted to set up my own manufacturing operation there with our partner and export all over the world. So that's what we've done. So we've built a facility over there. It's top notch, just like all of our facilities in the US. Everything is basically made with GMP standards and the consistency that our consumers have come to know. What I didn't know, which was kind of interesting, was that our products actually had been in Thailand for a few years, because there are folks in the illicit market that like to move products all over the place. And it was not, we had no knowledge of this, and I was shocked actually when I went over there. But to be honest, a lot of consumers knew our products, and they were happy to see that we launched in Thailand, and now they get to buy them a lot more inexpensively. So it just shows you that these markets, there are consumers all over the globe for these products. They want these products. They're demanding these products. It's an exciting industry. We should continue to focus on that. So I would love to have said that it was my plan to be a global brand, when I started this company 10 years ago. But, we were just trying to win in California at that time. And then when we won in California, we felt like we won in California. We expanded to other markets in the US. And I think this is just what happens when you do good work. Opportunities come to your doorstep. And I think that's how we look at it. And we always try to put our best foot forward. And that's really what our brand and what our company is about. We have amazing people that absolutely care about our customers and our consumers. And we don't put any products into the world that we wouldn't consume ourselves. And we are very, very picky about our own health here.
So with the international play, you get to use the same packaging. Is there other benefits to expanding internationally from an operational perspective?
For sure. I mean, Thailand, we can make products at a fraction of the cost we can in California, right? They don't have the rigorous and expensive tax burdens and regulatory burdens that we have here in the US. They'll probably put in, some minor changes, in the coming months. They're going to put more of a medical system in place. But I'm confident that we'll be able to sell our products, and we'll manufacture and sell our products with a good cost structure and a fair price to the consumers. Just being able to manufacture in one place and sell all over the world is really where we're headed. And if we were going to do it in someplace where it's expensive to manufacture and difficult, then we wouldn't have the advantage that we have with Thailand. So to be honest, I mean, it's not that different than when we open up in different markets in the US.
Is there a market that reminded you of
Thailand and what Thailand is?
Just from a licensing standpoint, infrastructure standpoint?
Thailand was completely different, because what they did was they just completely descheduled the plant and didn't put any regulations in place.
That's why it was the Wild West.
What they said was, don't deliver it to anybody under 21. Don't give it to pregnant women, right? And, sign up for a license, right? Which is basically just a form you filled out on your phone. So the doors blew wide open, and there are bars and restaurants where you can buy a joint in the bar and smoke it in the bar. It's not a lot of places, but you can do that in some places. We just announced our partnership with the Beach Samui, which is a hotel, beautiful resort on Koh Samui Island, where that is a cannabis resort where you can consume comfortably on their premises. And you can get treatments, cannabis treatments, everything from sound baths to massages to wellness treatments to sleep management therapy. And, this is, to me, is the first, to be honest, I think it's the first hotel in the world, resort in the world where you can get cannabis treatment and is, hyper cannabis friendly. That to me is a very exciting time and very exciting. It's a very exciting time to see that come to fruition. And it's a very exciting moment for the industry because this is what a lot of us in the US have wanted for years. We want free access to this incredible plant medicine.
How does that partnership work? Is that your team seeking them out? Is it them seeking you out? Somewhere in between? How does that work?
Yeah. So that was just an introduction. So they reached out to us, I think, at one point, or we met them at a conference or something, and they bought some of our products. And then I went over there, and the sales rep said, "Hey, there's some interesting. There's this hotel that is selling our products." I said, "Are you kidding? Let me meet the owners." And I met the owners, and we, again, 5 minutes. It was like, "Oh, hey, we're going to work together. We're going to drive this because this is a great opportunity, and it's a great story." It's, look, people can consume cannabis for whatever reason they want. I'm a full advocate of that, whatever, right? But, I came in this industry because cannabis is a wellness tool. It leads people to a life of it improves people's lives. And it doesn't matter whether you are, I actually don't see a difference between the medical and the recreational industry because, if you're using cannabis to deal with pain or sleep, you may then also at the same time, on Friday night, you may go out with your friends and consume a joint at a concert. But that's wellness too, because we're socializing. This is a social plant. And bringing people together is very, very important for wellness as well. And we're learning that in longevity circles, that socialization is so important for people to live long, healthy lives. That's what this plant is really good at as well. So for us, this is just an opportunity for us to tell this story and give consumers all over the world access to this plant in ways that they haven't been able to have access to yet. Even in the US, you can't go to a resort and get treatment for sleep or massage or whatever. It's still too highly regulated.
That partnership is really fascinating. And I can see something like that spreading super fast because once people experience the relaxing feel of an edible, maybe on the beach, which there's no better pairing in my opinion, it becomes one you're like, I can't believe I lived my whole life without this.
Absolutely. Right. And we all know that the alcohol beverage industry is taking a hit right now because a lot of people are dialing back their consumption of alcohol and they're consuming more cannabis. And as more of these beverages come on stream, as the stigma starts to fade, as consumers get more comfortable, it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow because it's much better for you than the toxins in alcohol.
Would you consider creating a specific product for this partnership? And if not, or if so, to continue a little farther, would you consider pushing out this partnership to other hotels in the future, or is this an exclusive one where it's
not at all? It's not exclusive at all. It's just the first story. It's just the first one, right? I want this all over the world, right? We're driving. The partnership is really that Kanha is supporting and sponsoring their programs, and we are helping them tell their story. We have a nice megaphone here because we're one of the bigger brands in the edible space in the U.S. and they're building this incredible space where people can consume and get treatment. And the truth is, these kinds of things are evolving and developing in Thailand. Why? Because you don't have it; it's not overregulated. There can be this innovation and testing of new types of implementations, et cetera. I do think that we will do these kinds of programs in other resorts around the world, perhaps even in Thailand. We're still in kind of test phase right now. Trying to see what the acceptance is. What the demand is for it, and we will evolve along the way. And in terms of new products, we're absolutely coming out with new products in Thailand. So as Thailand shifts from complete wide open market to more of a medical with some regulations in place, type market. We are also evolving how we're developing products and what our story is in that market. Look, I've always had an incredible passion for the wellness aspect of this plant and how it heals and improves people's lives and all of that, like we talked about earlier. And that's basically what the direction Thailand is going anyway. So, to have cannabis resorts where people can live better lives, it's just going to continue to grow. And we are actually, we'll be launching very soon. We haven't actually made an announcement about it, but I'll talk about it here. We're actually launching a Kanha clinic in Bangkok, where consumers can go and get treatment at the clinic in Bangkok, and they'll be able to get true treatment from traditional Thai medicine doctors who will treat, all kinds of conditions with cannabis, with cupping therapy, with all kinds of other types of therapies, but it'll be in a full medical facility. And we're developing new products to be able to sell through that facility and through other markets as well. So it's really just, delivering products globally into the cannabis wellness market, right? And if some people want to use them, to go out and have fun at night, it's all part of wellness in my book.
How big do you think the minor cannabinoid market is going to be? I know that you mentioned as far as like the minis that they do include other minors, right? So that clearly is something that resonates with your guys' team. How big do you think that market is going to be? And do you think there's going to be like standalone minor cannabinoid products that thrive?
I absolutely think there's going to be standalone minor cannabinoid products that thrive. And I think that they are crucial. We've been working with minor cannabinoids for 8 years, something like that. We started with CBN. We've had a CBN sleep product for, I started with our tincture, I think 8 years ago, something like that. And I have a science background. I believe in science. I'm passionate about science. I like scientific rigor. It's been frustrating over the years that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that CBN is good for sleep, but we didn't have any real science, to be honest, to back that up until just recently. Just recently, there was 1 or 2 studies that came out that actually confirmed that CBN actually enhances sleep. So it's great. It's great to see that. And, now that more research is being done, we're going to see a lot of research on THCV, CBG, other cannabinoids. We're already working with THCV, CBN, CBG, CBC in our products, and we will continue to work with other minor cannabinoids that are discovered or that are tested, and we can put into our products. It's not only about THC. And I think that's one of the things that there's a little bit of a misnomer in this industry. We've bred out a lot of these other minors into these super high potency plants that are great for a lot of people, but they're not great for everybody. And so when you can remix some of the minors back in, you can have more of a full spectrum experience, which you can from rosin. You feel the difference. You feel the effects. And so what's happening now is that we are very, very focused on consistent products. And to have that consistency, you got to be able to have measured amounts of different compounds in your products. And by the way, it's not just THC or the minor cannabinoids, it's also terpenes, right? And so we've had terpene mixes for many, many years in our products, but it's also other coactives. So we use green tea extract, we use damiana extract, we use honey, we use the tryptophan, we use all kinds of things in our products. And we're constantly evolving and trying these new things. And we will use traditional Thai medicine compounds in our products for the global markets as well. So again, it's about the science and about wellness and about the medical aspects to give these products specific use cases. And if you look at our FX line, our function line that we launched about a year ago, that's what that line is all about. If you want energy, take this product. If you're having a romantic night with your partner, take the love gummy, right? If you want to sleep, take the sleep product, and we've got all kinds of new other versions of these functional products on deck. And we will continue to drive those, but that will be driven a lot by the minors. And sometimes the minors are more important than THC.
Any function products or any new products that you've been chasing, you just haven't been able to dial down yet?
We definitely have a number that are in the development queue. I probably should not talk about them right now.
Just the 3 of us.
You know what? I mean, if you think about our day-to-day lives and the different issues that we contend with, right? There's stress. There's, we don't feel so well. We're coming out with products to be able to deal with these things. But we don't want to just launch products and slap some label on it and say it's good for stress. We want to test it and make sure that it works. And that's why we have 3 doctors that are involved in our development process, R&D process. One is my head of R&D, who is a PhD organic chemist. And then we have 2 medical doctors that are consulting with us. They're teaching cannabis courses. They're running cannabis programs at universities. They also are giving us a lot of advice and helping us make sure that we develop products that work. If a product doesn't work, what's the point of launching it?
Right. Do you have like a personal favorite ratio of cannabinoids in a product that you prefer?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's actually a deep question because all of our bodies are different. And so I've been a lightweight consumer most of my life of cannabis, whereas my business partner Keith, he's been a moderate consumer his whole life. But for him, it gives him energy. For me, it kind of, if I do too much THC, I kind of, go into the corner and become very antisocial. And so one of the reasons I got in this industry was once you can extract the compounds and you can use filtration methods, et cetera, to be able to separate out the different compounds, now you can remix them in ways that work for everybody. And so for me, actually, what works really well is kind of the 1-to-1 CBD to THC. That works really well. I do like the THCV as well for energy, and I think those are kind of my go-to products.
Do you ever dream of a world of like personalized cannabinoid medicine for each individual?
Oh, yeah. So that's another whole conversation. So we actually have been working with a company we have worked over the years with a company called Endocannabinoid, a guy named Len May, who's been driving personalized cannabis for many, many years. We actually launched tincture products 3 years ago that were based on a DNA test that you would take. And they would make recommendations based on your DNA on what types of products you should take. I was very excited about it. I believe in it. I think it's very powerful. And there are other companies that are doing this now as well. The problem is that its shelf space is very expensive in the licensed cannabis industry. And it's very hard to get these new types of products to gain enough traction fast enough to be able to justify the expensive shelf space for retailers. So that whole project got tabled, but I do believe in personalized cannabis. Yeah, absolutely. We've been testing it over the years, and I think it's going to evolve and continue to grow. But it's not just cannabis, right? There are lots of other compounds and plant medicines and all that it'll all be blended together to create personalized medicine for each of us.
How did that work with the DNA?
So he tested a number of SNPs. I don't know if you're familiar with SNPs, but same thing like 23andMe or Ancestry. Their company using doctors, they identified which SNPs were related to cannabis. And I don't remember exactly how many, but I think it was quite a few. And then based on those SNPs and research behind their impact of their relationship to cannabis, they would make recommendations on ratios and terpenes and things like that. So, I think they did a pretty good job of having the science underneath it to back it up. And when you had your test done, they would have the scientific research linked to your test results, which I think is important to back up their claims. And I don't think a lot of other companies that are doing the DNA testing in the industry have done the same thing. The hard part was creating the products, right? Because how do you create highly personalized products in this industry? It's expensive and it's tricky. You can do it if you've nailed products all over the country, but it's hard to do, in a licensed world. And that was a struggle we ran into.
Did they couple the DNA test with like expression to see how active those genes were? And then potentially could you then measure like the blood endocannabinoids as well, and then use that to create more like a holistic understanding of exactly which cannabinoids need to be provided for like optimal endocannabinoid health, right? That's kind of the mentality behind providing personalized cannabinoid medicine.
Yeah. I mean, you've done your homework in high school and college, I guess. So it's good.
Nerd.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going. I mean, I think it never got that far, but I think that's where it has to go, right? You have to have the feedback loop, right? You have to, look, think about this industry. Most of the research in this industry is being done in Israel, right? If you look at all the papers, a lot of the papers, the research has been done in Israel. It's finally starting to happen in the US, right? And we're glad to see that, but we're so far behind on the research. It's going to take a while to catch up. But, yes, I mean, I think it will flow into this personalized medicine where, yeah, what is actually happening at the genetic level when you consume cannabis or even other plant medicines? You see some of this, you see some discussion of this for sure in the psilocybin world. There's a lot of talk about that, and it has to happen. You have to understand how these plants actually impact your genetics. So I do believe that is what you described there, Kellen, is exactly what's going to happen. But it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and I think that it most likely will be like spearheaded by like a lot of the clinics that your brand is partnered with in Thailand, right? I think that a lot of this research and stuff isn't really allowed in the US currently, so it's going to have to be through partnerships with those kind of clinics. I know Costa Rica's got a bunch of them on like the personalized medicine and a lot of the retreats and stuff. So, but I agree that's where it's got to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in fact, that's another, that was one of the other benefits of Thailand for me was, hey, we can actually do clinical studies in Thailand at a fraction of the cost in the US. And so I've been talking about it for a while. We haven't gotten it off the ground yet, but we're trying to partner with some local hospitals there. I know we will do it. Again, you need science to back all this stuff up. You can't just guess.
Which product of yours, in your opinion, is underrated?
Well, the question is, who's doing the rating?
You are. I would assume you're familiar with which of your products are most popular, but in your opinion, you think this one, if more people gave it a chance or got exposure to it, would probably overtake it.
You know what? I think our CBG product, Restore, is an amazing product, right? It's 2-to-1 CBG to THC. It's CBG, I think, is a really interesting compound and it works well for a lot of people. But to be honest, I what I would really point to is our minis. These, we just launched them, so they're kind of underrated because they're new and lots of people haven't tried them yet, but they're incredible. We're getting amazing feedback from the bud tenders. Everybody we hand them to is just blown away because they're fast acting, they taste great. I don't know, they fit in your pocket. They have the minor cannabinoids in there. We're learning that CBC. We have to teach a lot of people about these different minor compounds and how they work and what they do. And I think as this product evolves and gets out there more, I think we will see more and more excitement about it.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to try them last week, and they're delicious. I would say the biggest challenge for me was not continuing to pop them into my mouth because they tasted so good.
I totally agree with that one. Yes, and by the way, that was a very big conversation internally. Because we wanted people to eat a few of them, but then how many do you put in a bottle and how does it fit in your pocket? It's tricky.
It's a challenge that I'll learn to deal with.
That's great.
Tell me something that is true that nobody agrees with you on.
I guess I would say nobody, but one of the things that we feel strongly about here is licensing our products. The truth is that you cannot build a brand without consistency in your products. Consumers want to have the same experience every time they consume the product and when they share it with their friends. If they go to different locations and there's differences, it damages trust, and a brand is really not much more than trust between you and the consumers. So we have actually fought very hard to manufacture all of our own products, either in our partners' facilities or sometimes ourselves in other locations. And we do think that that's really important. So, a lot of brands are growing quickly because they're licensing, and we just don't think that that's a great model because it's really hard to make good quality cannabis products. And it doesn't mean that won't work in the future, but I think for the time being, that's something that we're, that we believe very, very strongly about. And I would say that probably on the other side of the fence, not a lot of brands actually still believe in that. They're happy to have others make their products, and just don't see it. We just don't see the world that way.
What question do you wish more people asked you?
I think one of the biggest challenges in this industry is that we've done a poor job as an industry of growing the consumer base. Sure, during COVID, a lot of people, couldn't sleep and they started taking sleep products that worked. But I think that really we need to do a much better job as an industry to get people to understand how these products can help them in their lives. And it's funny. Wherever I go, people have their hand out, and say, hey, can I try it? But we don't really get like, hey, you know what? I have this situation. I've never tried it before. How do I implement this in my life to make my life better? And it sounds kind of like a simple question, but I don't think enough people are asking that question. I really don't. And I think if more people ask that question, like, how can I use, how do I stop drinking so much, right? And poisoning myself and bring this incredible plant medicine into my life on a daily basis or a weekly basis to make my life better. And I'm not hearing a lot of that. I hear a little bit of that, but not a lot. It's like, oh, cannabis. Okay. Yeah. I see people taking it. Yeah, maybe it's good for sleep, but it's not like each and every one of us have issues that we contend with every day, right? There's all kinds of things that can make our lives better. And cannabis isn't going to solve all of our problems. But you know what? It can actually solve quite a few. The world would be a much better place if most people on the planet consume plant medicines.
Amen. So prediction time. Cameron, how do you envision the intersection of health and wellness activities balanced with cannabis?
I think it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely, we've been talking about this for decades. There have been all kinds of people that have consumed cannabis for improving their lives. I think one of the misnomers is that cannabis is the product that you should be consuming to make your life better. I think cannabis is an ingredient, and I know some people will disagree with me on that, but I think it's an ingredient that when combined with other things can create incredible treatments for all kinds of conditions. And sometimes you only need cannabis, and that's just fine. But I think there's going to be a lot more as we step away from being revolutionaries and fighting the fight to legalize cannabis. There's been this whole, the industry evolved from people in the trenches fighting for legalization for decades, going to jail when they should never have for this incredible plant. And they're still in jail. And those of us in the industry that are creating these products, we're trying to help people understand that there's this whole wellness and life improvement aspect to this plant, right? And that's the story we want to tell. And it's starting to work, but it has to blend a little bit more with kind of the overall health and wellness industry. And I think it will continue to do that. But I think we are going to see, my prediction is, and we're already seeing some of it, these compounds in cannabis will be used in a variety of ways, in a variety of ratios, with other compounds and things to create optimized treatments in health and wellness. And that's how I see it going.
Love it. Kellen?
I'm going to agree with Cameron and kind of add a little bit more to it in terms of I think that the foray into cannabinoid research and kind of understanding how our biological systems interact with cannabinoids, right? I think it's going to have more of a rippling effect across all medicine because, and we've talked about this a lot, right, is the endocannabinoid system is not taught in medical school. And so you have the entire Western medicine who's been playing this game of trying to cure illnesses, but they've been missing this puzzle piece, right? And we know that cannabis, the chemicals in cannabis cause people to be hungry. They cause people to be sleepy. These are core things for homeostasis, right? So we know that endocannabinoids are contributing to our homeostasis, and we have been creating medicines to try to get us back to homeostasis without the puzzle piece of understanding the endocannabinoid system. So I think that over the next decade, you're going to see massive changes to the entire medical system as a whole as they start to understand where these specific ingredients complement all of our other treatments, where we've just been missing that small little piece to help with the homeostasis aspect of it, right? Because misdiagnosis is one of the leading causes of death in America, right? Which is a sad thing, but it's because they're playing this game with one hand tied behind their back, in my opinion. What do you think, Brian?
Let me dig in. I love that comment. I love everything you said because I totally agree with everything that you said. And I did not mention, the endocannabinoid system, and it's inherent in our body and it's everywhere in our body. And there's a reason for it. And it is very clear that one of the things it does is create homeostasis, right? So, or help us balance. And so I totally agree with you that is going to be a very, very important factor driving this industry forward. And thank you for making that point. It's good.
Yeah, I think it was perfectly said. And I think for me, I think it's the easiest thing in the book. I think if you get a massage and you take cannabis with it, it makes your massage a million times better. And I don't think anyone can disagree with that comment. And if you're hesitant, take a really low dose one. And I think your mind will be blown by just how much better you feel. And I think that's the easiest step into kind of relaxation, health, and wellness with cannabis, that people can see, hey, this product can make a massive difference for me. And it's the best way to give it a try, in my opinion.
Yeah. Even for sexual health, right? Cannabis is amazing for relationships. It's fantastic, right?
Perfectly said. So Cameron, for our listeners, they want to get in touch, they want to buy Kanha products, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can go to kanhabliss.com, Kanha Bliss on Instagram, and if they're not in any of our licensed states, they can go to Kanha Life, where they can actually buy hemp products. So we're starting to sell some hemp products in other states as well. So the exact same quality, exact same products. So we are now available with hemp products and in the license, and I think something like 36 or 38 states, something like that.
Amazing. We'll link it up in the show notes. Thanks for taking the time. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.